COE event to you both in person and online. From our experience, we had Dr. Kevin Elko yesterday, a sports psychologist for the Crimson Tide and various NFL teams. People will keep coming in as the program gets started, but we want to, since we have many people, other things to do, including online visitors today, we want to go ahead and get started with our fabulous speakers today. And let me mention in that regard, at last count, we have 112 lawyers who could not be here for the meeting, but are here online so that they can see this streaming live, courtesy of our section and Legal Services Alabama providing technical support. They will be able to get credit for this. And by the way, you're all online. If you want to ask a question, there is a way on your screen. You can send an email, and we will try to read those out towards the end of the presentation so that you can get responses from the speakers. Thank you very much for the task force that started the process of this great event, and thank you for Sam Irby for always being encouraging for everything we do. And that's right, absolutely. It's been a great present, and as he said, it's only one day to go. That's right. Okay, so our speakers today, I want to tell you, their bios are so impressive and so long. If I read the whole thing, that would pretty much take up the hour. But I'll tell you, we have the Chief Litigation Counsel from the Alabama Securities Commission and a former Secret Service agent. And frankly, they are so impressive. I guess I'm not going to read them because you guys will take care of all the things we want to hear today. Is that okay with you? So let's get started with cybercrime for law firms, prevention and recovery.
Well, good morning, guys. How's everybody doing? So what we're going to do for the next 6 hours is, see now you guys are waking up, you got the coffee. For the next hour, we're going to go through cybersecurity for law firms. And Gus and I will go back and forth. We're going to give you some helpful tips that you can use at your law firm today, tomorrow, to protect yourself, protect your employees, protect your cyber insurance, your cyber house, so to speak. And then in the last 10 minutes, we'll talk a little bit about some cyber insurance. But as we go through, feel free to raise your hand and ask a question. Now, we may ignore you. We will take it and we'll talk about it. Gus and I did this presentation for an Alabama Securities Commission for 2 hours for broker and dealers and IA investment advisors for free. And it's funny, when I get to the point where we were explaining how to check your email for fraud. And at the halfway mark, we went out and one of the ladies came back, who represents a pretty large firm, I won't say which one. She said, I got this email from my boss. And I said, well, why don't you check it? So she checked it and found out it was fraudulent. And she was about to click on it when her boss was telling her to do A, B, and C. So she called back to her office and immediately, they blocked it off. But I've been doing cyber insurance. I've worked for Department of Justice for 26 years. Before I came with Alabama Securities, Gus is one of the foremost experts on cybersecurity and forensics in the nation. He worked with the Secret Service. So as we walk through these things, we're going to try to give you hands-on, easy application, knowing that you have to be here for about 2 weeks to really get it all in. But I think when you leave here, you're going to have some ideas and some things that you can take today and start using to protect your law firm. Gus?
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. My name is Gus Dimitralis. I'm a retired Secret Service agent, president of Cyber Forensics. Our focus is really cyber crimes. I've been doing it 24 years. The first time I discovered cyber was in '95 when I was walking down the hallway in the Secret Service office in Miami. Boss in the office doesn't know my name. He says, hey, you're going to computer school. I'm like, well, what is it? He goes, I don't know. You're the only one here with a laptop. That's how I got into cyber. I'm a cyber guy. I've been doing it a long time. I've seen it all. I tell you, I work with every agency all over the world, more than 30 countries, and we know what the hackers are doing today. Every day it evolves, every day is a bigger threat. Today we're walking away with solutions, like Greg said. 20%. We want you to take 1 out of 5 solutions out of here and just walk away with it. Everything we do here today interacts with you. First thing I want you to do is take out your phone, take out your computer, and go to our website. It's called cyberforensics.com. And there's a little box there, and it says, have I been compromised? And all you do is you type in your email address, anyone, personal, business, and that email address will tell you that if your username and password are part of a larger breach. A larger breach could be Equifax, be OPM like mine, all of our data from OPM, our classified data that's stolen years ago, right, Dan? We all know that. Doesn't matter where your name was revealed, it's like a directory for the hackers. You take that username and that password and you go through every single website in the US. Wells Fargo, Regions, Office 365, Gmail. They try to tap into your credentials. They're not trying to encrypt your data, they're trying to thread themselves into your data so they understand what you're doing. They're looking for financial transactions, wire transfers. Anytime we see a corporation, whether it's a law firm or real estate agency, get a wire transfer capability, large transfers have been attacked. There's absolutely no way we can defeat the hackers. There's not. We just go after them one at a time. For us, it's all about cost.
So let's think about this. In the next 2 years, 30% of all corporations, financial institutions, law firms, real estate firms are going to get hacked. Think about that, 30%. I was up speaking in New York at the Yale Club, and I was asking them about this, and I said, who here has cyber insurance? Nobody raised their hand. Who has fire insurance for your house? Everyone raised it. I said, well, how many people have a 30-year houses burned down? Nobody's house is burned down. There's like 150 people there at the Yale Club. So this is a real, ongoing, current problem. So the average breach cost $7.35 million in the United States, and that is going up. That's from 2018. 2019, they think it's going to reach 10. The average loss for the hack is 28,000 documents. Think about that. Flip up the next one. So what's the number one loss for finance firms and law firms? Loss of customers. Churn rate. Once it gets out that you've been hacked and your client's personal information is now on the web, and once it's on the web, it's not coming back. How safe do they feel with you? So as attorneys, we understand confidentiality and protecting our clients and doing the best things for our clients, protecting them. But if we don't protect their data, are we protecting them? Are we opening ourselves up to lawsuits? The number one factor, the top factors for breaches are network weaknesses, mobile transactions, and people. So think about this. Everyone's got this, right? Nod your heads. Okay, now this has more computing power than they used to land on the moon. Think about that. In 2009, this became ubiquitous. It changed our world more than anything that in the last, maybe the atomic bomb. But now everyone has these. They're great. I love it. You can surf the web. But it's a tool that hackers and criminals use over and over and over and over again. So you need to think about that when you're using this. And the number one thing that causes breaches are, you want to venture a guess? Come on.
Email. That's actually
Emails. That's you're very, very close. It's your employees. 91% of all hacks, and this is the latest statistic from Bloomberg, because I did a presentation for Bloomberg online, and 91% of all hacks come from your employees. So you can get antivirus, malware, all this stuff. I'm not saying don't, but if you don't train your employees, then it's like you got two, gates on the barn. One's wide open, and the little narrow gate, you've got a padlock on it with steel, bars around it. Well, doors go out the big gate. So if you start to think about that, and how do we cut that back? The number one thing, and I'm not to push Gus, but the number one thing that you need to do is have a plan, and we do this at NASA at our nationwide conference. You have to have a plan if you got hacked. The number one thing that reduces your cost is someone to come in right then and end the problem. The longer the problem goes, the more costly it gets. Then the use of encryption, and then the number one thing is employee training, because that's 91% of the problem. So if you start thinking about this, and you brought up the email, we're gonna hit on that. 90% of all hacks come from email. Think about that. It's not some kid in the Ukraine that's like 14 years old coming up with this brilliant thing of hacking. That takes too much time and energy. It's easier just to hack you. Social engineering, which we're going to talk a lot about. Yes?
So there's two parts we're going to talk about. There's 100% of the room, we're going to have 100% answer. Who in here has a managed solution that manages your cybersecurity? Just raise your hand. An outside company that does manage all your outside. So they come in and they remote in and they manage whatever you need, right? Backups, patch, virus, correct? Now, who does it internally, meaning someone inside their office, someone who's physically in the office? One, the number's diminishing, but two, do you guys run a server environment, or what type of environment are you running? Like a server 2012, something? Yeah. So the operating system is the weakness in a lot of examples. So Windows Server 2003, 8, 12, they're all being attacked by hackers through what's called fileless malware. It's just instructions, just remotely running commands. Can't see it, scanners don't pick it up. We have 5 right now just in the state of Alabama. 5 data breaches just in the state right now, current. And it's all the same way. It's either because of the environment or what the hackers are now doing, which is as of this year, they're going after the service providers that manage your data. The people who run your IT run it with specific software. They're attacking through that software. That's how smart hackers are. So this year what they're doing is they're saying, wait a minute, I'm not going to attack your law firm. I'm going to attack a company that manages 20 law firms. And what we're seeing in these data breaches, when we see one breach, it's usually associated with numerous other ones. We figured it out that we have to associate the other breaches to it. And that's what we're seeing in the cases here in Alabama. We really look at something about, when we look at solutions, you know, Trojans. We talk about Trojans, we talk about malware. The goal is for the hacker to come in on your network. The Trojan is really just that concept that someone's coming in, they're putting in their malware, they're capturing out your passwords using open source software. Everything is free for hackers. Instructions are free. Your servers, your computers want to communicate. So all the hackers are doing is you're communicating with them. You're communicating with them using instructions. Now, I lived here in Fairhope for 10 years. And I love living here in Fairhope for 10 years. Now I'm in Bozeman, Montana. It's a borderless crime. Everybody we find who's committing these crimes are almost always overseas. In the last 2 years, we had SEC data breach at university, can't say the name. It's the only time we found 2 students, identified who they were, got confessions, rare, in 2 years. The idea that you have these firewalls, we call these home firewalls, but they're really just devices that you just use in conjunction with your antivirus. We kind of moved, as a company, we moved away from not recommending products or solutions to actually recommending products and solutions. Like Greg said, you can't be a Roll Tide fan or War Eagle fan. You got to pick one, guys. I'm from Miami. I don't really care. I'm like, whatever. Pick one. Pick one. I'm going to get killed over here. I hear it hissing. That's right. You can eat later. The concept is have a solution. Have a solution that you can understand. Everybody in here is so educated. Everybody in here is incredibly intelligent. To just look at something like this and go, I don't know what this is. It's a $199 solution. In other words, these devices now work with your iPhones and your Androids. Look at some of the solutions out there and start working with those solutions. Get comfortable with the concept of a firewall. That's what this slide's about. This is a solution slide. This is here, the slides are for you, take them back, look at them, research them. This is where we kind of jumped this year into, we got to support something. We're a big fan of Bitdefender. I don't work for them, I don't resell them, I don't make any money from them. We use them. And the platform we use is multi-operating system. So everybody on our network, Android, iOS, Mac, PC, once I send the link out, this is a simple solution. Gravity Zone is a really good one. They have so many other solutions. With Bitdefender, you can send out a link that says, hey, here's a link, click it, install the software on your phone, on your computer, and then from my perspective, my console, I can see who's not active on their running malware, antivirus, or firewall, everything, anti-spam, ransomware. This is a solution. It's a solution that works. We've tested it. It works great. And from my end, I'm the one that's controlling the admin screen. I can see whose solutions are down, which solutions are down. Because hackers, the first thing they do is they take down and disable your antivirus or your ransomware protection. Right? Always look at some sort of solution. This is just one. Again, another slide, no reason to elaborate. You can research it, get some more, or ask questions later. This is normally when we talk about the documents. Can't avoid it. Excel spreadsheets, number one. Microsoft Word documents, number two. Macros, a lot of people still enable macros. The moment you enable a macro, a document opens up. You see this with accounting firms all the time. Pops up and says, would you like to enable this macro? The answer is yes. Everybody clicks it. It's sort of the default flip. These are weaponized documents. These documents are always weaponized. We're able to weaponize those documents, send them to you, have you open those documents. So as part of our phishing campaigns, one thing we do is we send you a document to see who opens up with, of course, a non-malicious document. This is what we talk about, these ledgers. Who's our finance? Any accounting folks? Any accounting attorneys? I have to have one. Usually there's one. Yeah. Yeah, you get these all the time. You have to open up a document, enable macros. Yeah, absolutely. Phishing. Greg would like to talk about. Greg and I deal a lot with phishing cases, especially with his victims at the Securities Commission.
So let me just talk a little bit about what a phishing scam is. It is a way of social engineering. It's phishing and spear phishing, a way to social engineer into your company. I'll give you an example. It's a major law firm that I was going to go speak up in New York. So I got on their website and I thought, well, can I actually send them an email and they'll open it up? And can I hack them? And how long is it going to take me and how much is it going to cost me? So how much do you think it cost me?
Yes.
Well, no, it wasn't nothing. $3. So how did I do that? Well, if you think about your cyber house, how many windows do you have open? And what I mean by cyber house, I mean social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, yeah, all that crazy stuff. And that, you know, like his Instagram account, when I got on, I was shocked. You know, you're happy with yourself, so that's good. This is good. So, not to judge, in no way to judge, brother. But so, what I wanted to do was, and I'm not going to mention the law firms, probably one of the top 5 law firms in the country, but I went on there and I got on their website, and they described their partners. So I picked one of them out. And so I said, all right, you're the guy. So then I go on Facebook with an anonymous account, and I find out where he went to school, who his friends were, all the pictures, everything you take, you put out. Took me about 15 minutes, and then I went to another lawyer in the firm that I knew was coming to the seminar. And she had gone to the same school, which is Harvard. So what I did was, I went out, and there was their law firm, and instead of an L, I put a capital I. So imagine, you know, Greg Wardenberger at superlaw.com. Instead of superlaw, it was a capital I. Called my buddy Gus. We went in and we bought the domain name. So we'll get into what domain names, how you check your email, but we went in and I bought the domain name for that. So if they had malware, they're checking, it's not a black domain name, it's a white one. Just bought it. Sent the email from her to him, but it was actually from me. And I put in there some personal information. Let me show you, how many people do you think he clicked on that email? Come on, raise your hand. Come on. See, you guys won. He clicked on it, easy. And I've done it with banks, financial institutions. And what it is people are so driven by this, in constant contact and responding to emails. I mean, sometimes I wish this would like disappear. And so, like my boss, Joe, 11 o'clock last night, he's sending me questions. I haven't a drink, I don't want to answer questions at 11 o'clock. But I felt compelled to answer Joe. And so, we all feel that way, but the hackers know that. So when you put more of yourself, your firm, your interests out for you, for other people, what do? you open more windows in your cyber house. Now, how many windows you want to have open, that's up to you. I'm not on social media, zero. But that's just me. Fed for 27 years, so I'm a little paranoid. But you have to decide, because when you do that, you allow people to know about you and pretend to be somebody else. All right? Criminals know this. That's why child perverts use the internet. Why? Because a sweaty 48-year-old man that weighs 300 pounds will not be able to approach a 15-year-old girl in the mall. She'll run away. But he can post himself as a 15-year-old boy that's got the exact same problems. And she won't know. So that once we send you the email, you open the email, now they're in the system. And Gus will talk about this threading. What they're doing now is not immediately taking your files. They're waiting in your system for the right transaction. For you to do a real estate closing, for you to do a settlement. And then you'll get an email with your banking instructions, and you'll be sent it to the wrong place.
Yeah. Who has had ransomware? Who had a cryptoware ransomware attack? We had paid hackers. I know somebody has. We deal with it every day. No one has? Yeah. And so what, I get these all the time. It really is more of a guided tour at that point. When I see that, it's what should I do? It's a guided tour. I walk them through the steps of purchasing Bitcoin, currency, cryptocurrency, paying them off. And you got your data back? You did not? Wow, first one ever. All right, there you go. Normally they're, I call it ethical, they're business people. They want to get their money. What we're seeing now is what Greg is saying, they're threading themselves. So they're in your network, they're in your email, in your account for months, and they're creating rules, and they're sending the rules, any wire transfer, word with wire transfer, or bank transfers, they're sending those to the recycle bin. In the middle of the night, you don't really know this is happening. We're seeing it a lot, where they're just going in your recycle bin and communicating with the other party that is facilitating the wire or receiving the wire. It's called threading. What we want to do with the phishing campaigns internally, again, this is a solutions-based presentation. So here, as a company, IT provider, whatever you are, you go to this site and you're able to set up your own phishing campaign. So you don't need to pay me a whole lot of money to do it. You can do it yourself. And this is one of those services that allow you to set up your own internal phishing campaigns so that you can educate. You're not punishing employees that are clicking on emails. This is a great site, great solution. It really will resolve your phishing issues. The idea that somebody is just randomly clicking on emails. You do it yourself. All right? This will give you a slide, just click and go. The other thing we want to talk about is how fast we respond to emails. Every one of us has a mechanism for how we do our job, communications, right? This is Tommy Boy. Whoever knows this class, whoever doesn't know it, don't laugh. We just get out there and we get those emails, the next one comes up, and we got to get, see, I like this game. Emails I'm talking about. Emails, a little chuckle, right? Because that's how we do it. I do it all the time. My clients are always like, wow, you're so fast to respond. I'm like, well, yeah. But we have to. We don't have a choice. But take the time, understand what we're dealing with. Here's a regular type of email attack. This is on our own company. I get these all the time. Information here comes into our domain, one of our domains. Looks good, looks good. How did I discover this was a fake phishing campaign? Because we're one of the few original Google Enterprise, blah, 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 that have unlimited data, petabytes of data on Google. So when it says your document failed because the file is too large, I'm like, that's not possible. We deal with terabytes, files that are in terabytes. We have a petabyte plus. So I knew this was fake. So when I examined it, all you have to do, let me show you where it went. Everybody seen this screen before? Sometimes you get these screens, the next screen, so if I click that, which I did, in a nice sandbox machine, that I wasn't going to compromise my information, it says, hey, who's your provider? Here are all the providers they attack. These are the most common. Yahoo breached, Microsoft Outlook or 365 breached, AOL. I don't see it, not too many people use AOL as much. But all this does is fill in a form. This doesn't actually take you to Gmail or Office 365. And so the header is what's behind the email. This what identifies who is the one that email is going to. Here, this is a C21 affiliated.com, Century 21 real estate company. So what they're doing is they're hacking a whitelisted company, Century 21, and then they're sending out all of these phishing campaigns or emails through a trusted source. So it's getting through all our firewalls, it's getting through all our filters, and it's getting to me. And this is what's happening to you. How do you resolve a lot of these issues with email? Multi-factor, two-factor. If you don't walk away with this today with one thing from this presentation, literally this is the one. If you don't know how to set up multi-factor or two-factor, you just open a Google box and go, set up two-factor with whoever your provider is. They all have it. Google has it, iCloud has it, Office 365 has it. It's a three-step process. And all it does is sends a code to your phone when you're logging into your email, so you know it's you, it's not somebody else.
So once you run through it, you can check any email for the ISP and the domain name. ISP is the computer code number. The domain name is what, so you don't have to repeat the computer code. But on Microsoft and on iOS, on Apple, you can go on and click without opening an email, and it will drop down the box, and it will show you where that came from. Then you can scroll down, you'll see the ISP, you'll see the domain name, and you can actually take that and for a free website. What's the name of the free website?
We'll take it to it. So it'll be a little more interactive. We're going to pull somebody out to provide their firm name. We'll plug it in just to give you sort of a free preliminary outside scan of your network. This is just a two-factor, just describing 3 steps. This is Google. Who has Google? Google runs their company through Google. I know a lot of people. So if you run 3 steps, you basically log into your account, you set up Authenticator, you can do it through your app, or you choose two-factor authentication. There's a number of different ways. But this site right here is really good. I use this site to, if you go to the site twofactorauth.org, it'll show you if your bank, whoever you're using has multi-factor set up. If you don't, like ours with SunTrust, we left. Years ago, SunTrust didn't have two-factor capabilities, so we left. We didn't want somebody logging into our banking without two-factor, so we moved our banking. So what this website allows you, whatever service you're using, whether it's email service, whether it's banking service, pay service, make sure you go to this site and see if they offer multi-factor or two-factor authentication. Good question about some of these terms get to be very technical. Right here, just somebody I needed somebody to throw themselves under the bus and like ask me a question about two-factor that they're like unsure of or have a question about. Yes, sir.
So are you saying you should not check the box to say trust this device, always require it to be the two-factor process?
And that's a great question, because when you trust a device, we're seeing that with ransomware. So right now you have Dropbox. You have Dropbox? Most people have Dropbox. When you open up Dropbox, it's a running service on your computer. So you're like, oh, I'm backing my data to Dropbox. But since your system is authenticated, it's a trusted service. So when a hacker gets into your system, that Dropbox account also is a USB. It's just the malware doesn't know. So it'll encrypt the data on your computer. Then it goes to all your storage devices, whether it's on the cloud or physical, and it encrypts that data. So when you have a token that's authenticating you, you're opening up, trust this device, great, convenience, wonderful, but at the end of the night, just close the lid on your laptop and you eliminate that problem. The authentication is still there the next day, but the hackers won't come into a system that's basically in sleep mode.
Right, remember your browser doesn't have any security on it. So remember that, so at the end of the day.
Yes, what that means is we have software service.
Right, you should turn your computer off and then back on the next day. That's gonna alleviate stuff in your browser. When I say browser, like Google Chrome or Firefox, there's no protection on that in your computer. So you need to shut it down every day and restart it back up. And the two-factor, I mean, how many people do their taxes online? The easy way to explain this is I use taxslayer.com. I put in my name, my passcode, and then they send me an email or a text message with a code, and I have to go and put that code back in. That way, if someone's hacked into my system but they don't have my phone, it's an extra layer of protection. That's the easy way to explain it.
Yeah, the browser, everybody talks about Windows. Yes, sir.
Turn it off or you put it on sleep?
You can just close it. I mean, yeah, it's up to you. Either way is fine. I mean, right now, we have USB devices that are able to rip all passwords from a shutdown device. You used to say the safest computer was the computer that's off. It's no longer that way. But somebody mentioned about browsers. When you have a Mac, I have a Mac, you have a PC, whatever you're running, it doesn't matter. It's the browser where we're seeing the credentials being stolen from. So your browser is the one that stores your credentials because we are so convenient as a society. We basically like to auto-form everything, automatic, oh, it sees my password for the bank, click yes, hit go. That data is stored unencrypted in the browser. We have part of our assessment, we run all the computers in a facility and we generate what's called a credential file. It shows how compromised you are. We take that credential file, throw it in our software, and we're saying, hey, we can log into all these accounts right now without you even knowing about it. And that really just shows you how weak a browser is. There's hackers and there's ethical hackers. We have 10 ethical hackers that company that are able to generate your vulnerabilities, demonstrate in a report format or verbally what your vulnerabilities are. So multi-factor is an easy one. Patching, we're seeing this all the time. If you don't patch your computer, I know it sounds crazy, we call it Patch Tuesday or whatever you want to call it. Some any IT folks in here that do patching, you just have to do it all the time. Anytime you see a Windows update, you want to be bothered because you're in the middle of a declaration or a motion or whatever you're doing with your law firm, you're going to have to patch and restart because these are the 0-day issues when you see a patch that's required by Microsoft, and there's so many.
So you should designate someone in your law firm that that's their responsibility.
Bitdefender will do that. Bitdefender, part of it is it manages or monitors your patches. So Greg could look at his firm, his company, and say, wait a minute, your patches aren't up to date, and enforce those patches remotely. So it's very simple to do. You can do it through, if you ever go to Bitdefender and just play with it, it's the easiest console I've ever experienced. Your operating system, anybody running 2000 server 2003 or 2008, you are 100% active. Or XP, of course. Please don't tell me someone here has XP. I don't think I'll get an admission. Anybody run XP? The entire international airport in the Middle East was compromised. We did the brief because one system that ran your manifest was XP. The entire airport. One of the top 10 airports in the country, in the world, sorry. And it's because they had one single machine that was running XP. When we do our ethical hacking certification, we use XP, Server 2003, Server 2008, even Server 2012, and we attack those systems at every level. 2003 and 2008, if you have those, if you don't even know you have those, just ask your IT provider what they're running and have them take a screenshot and send it to you. VPNs is the greatest. Boost, all right, oh gosh.
Let me say this. How many people got on the free Wi-Fi here?
Free
Free
Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi? All right, don't ever do that again. Never, ever, ever get on the free Wi-Fi.
Can't say no.
Gus and I were down in Jamaica doing a presentation and to the Jamaican Supreme Court, a bunch of lawyers down there, and they had this International Association of Prosecutors, they had free Wi-Fi. So Gus went in and we got a little device we get on YouTube or Amazon, $50 called Pineapple, and it will mimic Wi-Fi. So we put in the exact same name, International Association of Prosecutors, free Wi-Fi. People started clicking on it like crazy. Well, then whoever controls that is sucking up all their data. So never, ever, if you don't remember anything, never, ever, ever go someplace and click on the free Wi-Fi. It's not free. I got an argument with an attorney in Chicago about this. He goes, why have to do all this work? And I said, well, yeah, you can hotspot your phone, you can get VPN, you can do all this, but I trust that company. I'm like, so you're at Starbucks? You trust Starbucks to control all your cybersecurity? I will never hire you. So you're just not smart enough. But so if you don't remember anything, VPN is super cheap, super easy to use. 5 years ago was a big deal. Now you can go online and download it for almost free.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, we set up these fake conference Wi-Fi. So when you see this, it's really just see how many people just come on our network. It's totally legal. If you want to connect to my network, it's okay. It's legal. I'll let you do it. I'm going to capture everything you do. We really want to know the Internet of Things is safe, right? But they're not. So that's how Target got hacked. HVAC systems or air conditioning system, third-party vendor, had remote controls. They it's called lateral movement on the network. So all the Target was hacked because of an air conditioning system. Casino in Las Vegas, with the thermostat in the aquarium, at the casino. these IoTs, Internet of Things, those beautiful devices we have in our house that are so awesome and convenient, are how they're getting on your networks. That's mostly we see those weaknesses in the devices. The more devices you have, the more weaknesses there are.
I'm an instructor at the FBI Cyber Academy, and all their experts have to go through a 2-week trial course. And I was down there, they do their thing, and they did a really good job, most of them. But I said, well, was there a Internet of Things in the house? Yes. So they're heating and cooling, your fridge. Did you check those to see if those were hacked? Every one of them said no. But that's the easiest thing to hack, because I think the last check was 80% of the Internet of Things. When I say Internet of Things, your smart devices that you put in there have no cyber protection at all. 80%. So if I want to hack you, why would I work on your computer when I can go through your refrigerator that has no protection? So it's back to the cyber house. Remember, the more cyber things you put in your house that are unprotected, the more windows are open. And if I'm a crook, I want to go through an open window. I don't want to have to jimmy the lock or use a hooligan tool to break open the front door when you left the window open in your bedroom.
We have a form here again, just as I'm throwing my wife under the bus here. So she's with Yahoo, and it says your account was found in a breach. We use this as an educational tool that if you see your name here and it says your account has part of a breach, just change your credentials and your password. Your password is fine, because this happens all the time. Heard with Yahoo. And also, we want to get, this is sort of called the confessional portion, where we want somebody to give us their domain and just do a quick assessment, like just a very basic assessment. So anybody want to yell out their firm name?
Come on, guys, don't be that way. Come on.
I just want to show you one thing. And again, there's so many areas that we cover. This is just easy.
I'll yell at someone else's firm.
Anybody? No one?
Bradley Arantz. It's not my firm, but.
You can do Lanier Ford, they're one of the other firms in town.
Everybody's getting it, right? Yes, just somebody throw it. I don't care. I'm gonna look down. I'm gonna look at her face. Let me just give me some names. I'm just gonna type something. I don't care who it is. Sandy Hart?
It's State Farm.
Oh, State Farm.
State Bar.
Oh, State Bar. Wait, is it Alice State Bar? How is it? Alabar.org. That it?
Yes.
All right. So, I figured this was going to happen. What we have here is demarking is, and with the alabar.org, do you receive emails that appear to be from someone who's from alabar.org? Like it looks like it's them, but it's not? Anybody receive those? You should, because what this means right here, the demarking, means that the idea, so, the way hackers are using, versus no demark record found, basically what this does, this protects your messages, your email. So when we see this, what that usually means is that, remember mine earlier where it looked like it came from my company? Well, I realized that, well, hey, we didn't have our demark enabled. So basically what this did, it protects, it validates and authenticates your messages. It's very simple to fix. We fixed it. We had that same issue. If you run it just simply, we use a lot of different sites, but the one we use right now is called MX Toolbox. MX Toolbox is great. You can do a lot of different research there. But here, like DeepMark, I knew right away that when I see this, that means that you might be receiving emails that look like it's from someone from alabar.org, but it's not. And that's usually when we have this issue here, which is a fixable issue. Any questions? We got, cyber is huge, but.
I don't know, maybe y'all want to comment on the app that's going around with the making you look old, and now they're saying you're sending your face to the Russians and security concerns going down on the app.
I have to tell you, a few years back, I would tell you were absolutely incorrect. Now we're saying 100% of what we're doing right now is we've got so much protections in our house, and then we allow Alexa in our house, we allow Siri in our house, we allow Google Home. We allow these devices. I did a story out of Tampa, a news story. It was based on the idea that we love our protections, but we have these devices that monitor everything that we do. The facial recognition one is absolutely just tremendous. These apps, I don't doubt it. If you're saying I don't doubt, I can't go back to Russia. I can't go back to China. There's a few places I can't go back to. I've gotten used to it, but I'm not allowed. But they understand who everybody is in the world. And I've been doing this long enough to go after a lot of people that the threats out there, I'm not paranoid. I don't have a bunker. I don't have a cyber bunker. But I do help clients like yourselves. We like those companies. We have State Farm, we have Toyota, but we like the folks in Alabama. Lived here 10 years, easy to work with. Great question. Any other questions?
If you're going online to check the balance in your bank account, for example, and you type in your password, that your bank requires, you have to have something to protect you. Sounds like a big defender to keep them from finding out the password that you typed in.
Well, and again, assume that your password and username gets stolen. Assume. If you're not, when you're doing that, if you're not getting something back from your bank that says, hey, punch in this code, two-factor, then enable it or move.
Okay.
It's really, it's so simple, and there's
So
no
you
way.
enable that on the bank's website. They should have a place to enable two-factor.
Absolutely. I'll take it back. You go to that website, two-fact, whatever it was, click on that, see if your bank is part of that, and SunTrust wasn't, so we left.
So let me just say just a little bit about passwords. The number one password is password. That's a scary thought, but true. So what you need to do is think about your passcode and think about changing it often. I know that's a big pain in the rear end, and that's why a lot of people quit using it, or they put their passcode on their computer. So, but what you need to think about is I need to rotate my password. It can't be, if you're an Auburn fan and you got on your Facebook, Auburn Tigers, am I going to hack you? What am I going to type in? Auburn Tigers, 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. So think about it, and it needs to be at least 12 characters long, capital, and some special features on it, like a, Spartan 1850, Ansign or something. But it needs to be rotated every 3 months. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. And so you need to think about that. The other thing is I was going to say just a little bit about physical security. Nobody thinks about physical security at their business. We were, I'll brag on Gus a little bit. He was at a major law enforcement agency, and they said, well, you can't hack us. You can't do it. We're too swift. So Gus said, well, all right, well, can you just put me in this room? And I think what, 7 minutes?
45 seconds.
45 seconds.
Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, so I was too slow for you. But how do you do it? Because it's the Internet of Things. What was in the conference room? A copy machine. A printer. And all you got to do is stick the USB in the printer and you're in the system. So how many times at your firm do you let somebody go and copy something on the machine? And they're all wireless now. So I'm not saying don't let anybody use this, and that's something to think about, because at any time they're in contact with a wireless device in your office, if they want to do you harm, they can. One of the last cases I worked for the Department of Justice was a big bank fraud. They stole millions of dollars, but they went into a bank, used the copy machine, they were going to open a new account. They downloaded all the stuff from the bank, not to rip off the bank, but so then they put up a website pretending they were that bank, selling CDs at a reasonable rate, like 3%. People just started pouring money in. Well, long and short of it is, it all went over to Eastern Europe, and nobody got any of their money back. But these are things you have to think about.
The rest of this, one other area we cover is, we talked about solutions, and now we're big on solutions. We provide recommendations. But cyber insurance, we talked about cyber insurance now. Kid Kelly, FBI, just retired. Congratulations, kid.
He's about to retire,
Yeah, and Toby, yeah.
but Toby, come up here and just let him talk to you a little bit about cyber.
Now, I've got to go. Are there any questions? Because I have to testify in Atlanta. Anybody have? Sure.
So when we go to hotels like this, we should join the Wi-Fi?
Absolutely not. You have your phone right now, everything gets tethered, it's free. Your phone connection, your cell connection is rock solid. And there's no reason not to use your phone 100% of the time. If you don't have that plan, pay the $5. Don't be cheap, you know, as we say, it's not the $5 it costs, I think something like that. Somebody told me it was $5, I have no idea.
What's that deal we should get on?
You should just use your phone. So on your phone, everybody has the capability to add, if you don't have it already, it's called Hotspot. So you can actually hotspot from your device itself. Personal hotspot is what it has in iOS devices. What's Android? Is it just hotspot? Yeah. So hotspot, and you should always use your cellular phone. The cellular connection, cellular data, because the way the packets travel, are very secure. Hackers aren't going to get through that. Not, at least not today. Sure.
Is there any security difference between having an on-site server or having a cloud-based server?
You know, we're big fans of cloud-based solutions. I think the problem with physical servers is that to manage those takes a lot. That's a lot of overhead. And we can just, you know, the options, we can discuss different options and reasons for each one at any time and see which one you like better. We like to listen to you and see what you like better. But we like cloud. No. That's it.
Password managers, are they, just stay away from them because they can be hacked too, right?
Yeah, so 1Password, we have software that breaks the password managers, and it does it in seconds and minutes. 1Password was one of those companies that got breached. We can go through how to store passwords, but honestly, if I tell you how I did mine, you think I was crazy, but it's really just contacting my iOS device. And then the password has a pattern, and you only might, so the contact will say, let's say for instance, region, and username is right there, count is right there, the password would have the first letter of my pattern on the keyboard. So it's not a password, so I know from that pattern, the first digit, what the password is because of that pattern. Yeah.
But generally speaking, when your phone says it will save all your passwords, don't do that. Because once I get into your phone, then I get all your passwords. I know it's a pain in the butt, but, or on your computer. It always asks me, do you want to save this password? The answer to that is no, never. Because once, then I'm opening up everything. So just, you know, if you want to do it the old fashioned way, write them all down, put them someplace in your house, that's 100 times better than saving them on your phone.
Yeah, except your manifesto.
Yeah. So, you know, if you want to talk a little bit about cyber insurance, what you're saying.
Well, now that we're all scared to death to get on our phones, I'm Toby Lieber with IL Group in Gulf Shores. We do cyber insurance, and it's so much more simple than we think it is. I think that's the hardest thing we talk about. I'm trying to figure out where our click is.
It's on the desktop. Desktop.
There we go. So we're still having technical difficulties during the cyber presentation. So we talk about the ease of cyber insurance. Everybody thinks it's going to be this crazy questionnaire, it's going to be tons of data, and now you're transferring all the data that you're scared to transfer. That is simply not the case. It's very easy. When we start talking about law firms, IL focuses mainly on financial institutions and law firms. So the things about when you're not hacked, I just stumbled across this a couple weeks ago. This was a case out of Chicago. This firm was not hacked. They had a class action lawsuit against them simply because a client, that was a fintech client, found out that they had no cyber policy, insurance policy in place. They formed a class action lawsuit, sued this law firm for not protecting their clients. It was settled out of court. Couldn't find what that was, but I'm sure it wasn't pretty. There was about 25 clients that all got together out of their client list and simply sued them for not protecting their information enough. So it's not just when you get hacked. We talk about cyber insurance, there's two kinds. There's cyber crime, there's cyber liability. Only one thing goes to both, and that's going to be fund transfers. The liability, if you think about liability, it's all what happens to your network, your systems, and the people that you are liable to. Crime is simply the loss of funds. If you have physically lost money, that's gonna fall under crime. Our big wire transfer funds, now any wire transfer fund over $50,000 in any state falls under a crime policy. So when your companies are telling you, oh, that's covered in your liability policy, if it's over $50,000, it is not. That is a big thing, especially in the real estate realm. What wire transfers under $50,000 anymore? Can you buy a boat dock for that? I doubt it. So that's a huge issue. Here we go. Cyber insurance, can you afford it? Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, this is a new hot button, right? So it's gonna be outrageous expensive. This is a law firm in Alabama, just quoted. They have $1 million coverage for a ton of things. We're gonna go over a very simple policy summary. $2,500 deductible. It's less than $3,000 a year, guys. It is absolutely affordable and it's beyond necessary. You go to a crime policy, you're talking different numbers. This is a mortgage servicer that we just wrote yesterday. And they have $500,000 coverage for a bunch of different incidents. We'll look at those in a second. Their deductibles are always going to be higher because these are actual funds lost. Still only a $5,000 annual premium. When you think about crime versus liability, liability premiums are completely developed on a risk analysis. Crime policies are going to run anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 per $1 million worth of coverage. We're going to look at crime as how much physical money are you trading back and forth. So the crime policies for mortgage companies, banks, escrow servicers, those are all higher because that's where all the money is getting transferred. But liability first, we got to support that. Crime if you're transferring money. It's going to be a little hard to read because it's so condensed. This first sheet picture, that is your entire cyber application for liability insurance. The entire application. Very rarely, if this one page is filled out completely, do underwriters come back and ask a lot of questions. Especially y'all aren't doing a ton of money transfer. So it's a very simple application. It takes about 5 minutes to fill out. The next page is your complete summary. This is of a law firm. Shows your premium, your fees, everything that it covers. Notice that these for law firms are almost always worldwide. The only time we get into domestic is going to be with banks, financial institutions. They're going to keep those domestic policies only. But all the law firms we're seeing are worldwide. So extremely simple. These are your liability limits and coverages. There are different deductibles. But you notice in an incident response, that very first top thing, which is going to be your biggest claim, it's $1 million. There is no deductible on this. This just jumps to coverage. So we can go through all of these. Trust me, you'll be way bored. Insurance is not the most fun topic, but this covers every major issue that you could have in your firm, from email breach to internal employee, extortion, all of it. And then these are just the last pages of those showing more coverages. So you see in that one policy, you have 5 pages of coverage. There's nothing that is not covered in this for any typical business. And that is how simple cyber policies are. So if you guys have any questions, do we have questions about insurance coverage or difference between crime and liability?
Or any general, we're bumping up against our time, any general questions about cybersecurity? So, come on, it's got to be another question. I feel left out. Let me just say this. I go around and talk on this topic a lot around the nation. And if you have a group, Joe Borg at the Alabama Securities Commission will let me go there and talk. I don't, it pays the same. This is what my Marine son says, I get paid the same marching or fighting. So if you want us to come out and talk to you about cyber insurance, cyber security, I can do an hour. I'm doing for Aaliyah, I'm doing 4 hours in October. But let me just say this, and let me kind of finish with this. This is not going away. It's only getting worse. So if you don't start taking some proactive measures now, then it's only the bleeding's gonna be worse. So now's the time to educate yourself. There's a lot of free things you can get online. After work, we can kind of get in the weeds, but you can go on and say, how do I check an ISP? And it'll come up, and it's free. How do I check a domain name? It comes up, it's free. There's a lot of free services. Bitdefender's great, and I don't have a law firm, but if I did have a law firm, I would have cyber insurance. Especially if I'm transacting any type of business. Gus has got 5 clients that are law firms here in Alabama, and it's all because of big breaches. And what happens, and he talked just a little bit about threading, is they go into your email and they wait, they run an algorithm, they look for sales, contract, transfer of money. So in this one case, this is the last story to scare you. They stay in the system 6 months. Big transactions coming through, is multi-million-dollar land transaction. So they've been waiting, and when they saw that the next day the wire was going to be sent out, they sent an email from the person who's receiving the $3.5 million. Hey, talking to Joe yesterday, my girl didn't tell me, but we changed, here's the new routing code for the bank. Please wire it, it's closed tomorrow. So what did they do? The email they thought was from the person, it sounded very familiar, which is social engineering. They want to use your first name. They want to act like they know you. Boom, they sent the $3.5 million. Where did it go? Went to Hungary. Nobody checks a routing number. You could. I mean, you could do it in like 5 seconds. You paste and copy, boom, where is it regions, is it SunTrust? So what I'm saying is they're realizing that real estate firms and law firms are rich environments because we transact business and money comes through. And so you want to be trusted and reliable for your clients. So just a little bit of work, training with your employees, you can shut the vast majority of the doors. I can't tell you that you're never going to get hacked, because that'd be a lie. But you can cut back about 95% of it and then cover you for the 5% loss. So I think we're bumping right up on our time. I really appreciate y'all coming this morning. My contact information is on the end of the slide. If you want someone from the Alabama Securities Commission to come out and talk about cyber security, or the next time we do a training in Montgomery, you're all invited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alabama to both of our speakers, and thank you so much for this important information, both people in the audience and online. I've really enjoyed it. If you'd like to join our session for free until it renews in September, grab one of those applications. You will love our CLEs, our listserv, and all the advantages. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day.
Recording, yes.